DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com, WorkOnMyGame.com. All-Star game is coming up soon, and I think they're going to be announcing the All-Star teams. I think it's today. I'm recording this on Thursday, so hopefully I'll remember to put this out. I guess I'll put it out on Friday. Maybe I'll put it out later on Thursday. But I wanted to put this video out to talk about that because some people had asked me about it. And even though I don't make all basketball videos every day like I used to, I still follow the game and know what's going on. And of course, we have some debates about who should make the All-Star game and who should not. And this happens every year, of course, because you got players who maybe they have been good steadily, but they've never gotten that recognition, or you got the players who are going to say they were snubbed, quote unquote. And now with social media, that can be amplified. That message can be amplified. Any player who feels like they were left out of the proceedings of getting chosen for the game. This year, I think the biggest thing is you're looking at players from teams that are not very good, but the player is putting up great stats. So then the argument becomes, all right, which one's more important? Should this player make the All-Star game anyway? Do you reward losing? Do you put more players from winning teams, even though somebody else might, quote unquote, be better than them? Is it not this player's fault that the team's losing? Because look at his stats. And there are a lot of arguments on this subject. So that's what I want to talk about. It's not really about the All-Star game, but I'll put it out since it's around the All-Star selections of the players who will actually make the game, not the two captains pick the team, that corny shit that the NBA is doing. That's boring to me. I don't care about that. And the game itself is whack also. But it's the recognition of making All-Star that does matter, because that goes on your long-term resume. So that does matter. That's what I'm talking about here. So the thing that we're talking about here is winning and losing players and what's valuable and what's not. So first of all, I'm a professional athlete. I played professional basketball for 9 years. So I look at the game a lot differently actually than the casual basketball fan. The casual basketball fan, I'll give a description of this person. This is a person who looks at the box scores and looks at the stat sheets and says, all right, player X is averaging this many points, this many rebounds, this many assists. Maybe they go a level deeper and see how many triple doubles you got or what your shooting percentages are and say, all right, well, because they're averaging these stats, this person deserves to be an all-star. I was on Twitter the other day, and I don't even follow too many people on Twitter. I think I follow like 40 people. But the NBA had posted Zack Lavine. He had a good game, and they had won a game. And I was looking at the replies to that tweet, and some dude who works in Chicago, I think he's like a TV sports guy or a reporter, he did this exact thing. He was like, Zack Lavine's averaging this, and this, and his percentages are this, and this. He's definitely an all-star, period. And I remember reading that, and I'm thinking to myself, well, listen, a lot of people got stats, and everybody can't make the All-Star game. Just because you got stats doesn't necessarily mean that you're an All-Star. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're even a winning player. Because here's the bottom line. This is something that I talked about when I did the LeBron video back in like August of last year, saying why I still think LeBron's the best player in the league. I put that before the season, so y'all can go watch that if you want. But I said the object of the game, this is the thing that, because everybody has different opinions, right? I could have an opinion about a certain player. You could have an opinion. Neither one of us is right or wrong. You are free to feel how you feel, and I'm free to feel how I feel. And you can argue about this forever. And that's what makes it interesting, right? I suppose. But the thing is, in sports, as opposed to other areas of life, in sports, and this is the great thing that I love most about sports, is that we got that scoreboard up there. Right, unlike in, let's say, boxing, where you got judges, if this fight goes the distance, they get to decide who won, and that becomes a subjective thing. Or figure skating, or I don't know, whatever other sport has judges, gymnastics. In basketball, football, baseball, hockey, track and field, you got a scoreboard. There's some type of statistic, an objective measurement that says who did what, and that determines who wins and who doesn't win. That's the beautiful thing about sports. Therefore, when we have that, nobody can come after, like in a boxing match. Any of y'all who follows boxing, you don't even have to follow boxing. You've seen this happen, right? There'll be a fight. Somebody will lose the fight on the scorecards. It'll go the distance. They lose the fight on the scorecards. And then after the fight, what does the losing boxer always say? They always say the same thing. I feel like I won the fight. I won the fight again. I won the fight. They didn't give me the right, no scores, this and that. I was the better fighter. Y'all heard this. Every boxer does this when they lose. And they got a right to, because they didn't lose on the scoreboard. They lost on the scorecard, but the scorecards are based on people's opinions. In basketball, ain't no scoreboards, ain't no judges. I mean, no scorecards, no judges. It's just straight up stats. One team had 100 points, the other team had 99. That means this team won. And the object of the game is to win. That's the reason you play, is to win the game. Who said that? Wasn't that the Jim Moore, the football coach? You play to win the game. All right, that's the reason you play. Statistics, the stats that you accumulate in the game, are a means to an end. Okay, and the things I'm telling you right now are not my opinion. These are the truths of the basketball. These are the facts of basketball. Getting stats is not the object of the game. Getting stats is something that happens while you are pursuing the object of the game. So if you score 30 points, for the most part, people are going to say, okay, this person had a good game scoring-wise. But the purpose of the game was not for you to score 30. The purpose of the game was to win. Scoring 30 is just something that you did to get there, okay? That's the purpose of the game. So when we have players who are scoring a lot of points, such as this example, Zack Lavine is averaging, whatever he's averaging, 25 points a game, whatever he's doing, and somebody's like, well, he's definitely an all-star because he's averaging 25 points a game. Not necessarily, because there's other things that we need to look at around every player. And here are the specific things. And I was thinking about this morning, and obviously I'm driving, so I don't have all the stats and stuff in front of me, but I'm going to try to remember what I was thinking. Several areas that I want to address when we assess any basketball player. Of course, we got stats. I don't have to tell you about that. You can name people's stats, because those are facts. A statistic is a factual thing. Then there are more subjective things that we got to talk about. One of them that's not subjective is winning. But the subjective part is, how much is it that player contributing to the winning, and how much is it not his fault when the team's not winning, quote unquote, not his fault. So any player on a losing team putting up stats, his fans, often they're casual fans, will say something like, well, it's not his fault they're losing. Look at his stats. He's averaging 25. It can't be his fault. We'll talk about that. That's subjective, objective and subjective. Then it's, how do his teams do when he's not around, and or when he switches teams? Does he all of a sudden start winning and prove that it wasn't his fault, or do his teams continue to lose no matter what the situation is, which may be more evidence that this player is just not a winning player? And there are a few players I want to reference in that regard. And the other one is, this is a very subjective one, how much does it appear this player's teammates actually like playing with this guy? And that matters, because basketball is a team sport. Even though the All-Star game is about individual accolade, it's an individual accolade, and we're recognizing people individually. The game, again, the object of the game is to win. It's for the team. The team wins the game. All right? One player doesn't win the game. The whole team wins. Even if one player is the best guy and he's putting up all the great stats and people say he's the best, the whole team wins. So when the Cavs win the championship, everybody's like LeBron, of course. But everybody on the team gets to put NBA champion on their resume, right? So how much your teammates actually enjoy being on the court with you, and how much your teammates benefit from your presence on the court, that matters. That has to be factored in, because as I said, it's a team sport. It matters how other players are responding to you, whether in their performance or just energy-wise. And this is, again, very, very subjective. The eye test, as some people say when they watch the actual games, or just the energy, the chemistry between players on teams. And we're going to talk about a few guys when it comes to that. So hopefully I can remember everything that I just said. So let's get to it. First of all, just because a player is putting up great stats, that does not mean you are definitely an all-star. It does not mean you're definitely better than somebody who's not putting up stats that are just as good. And there are a lot of players, I've played with these players. If you play ball, you have played with these players. Shit, you might be one of these players. Players who, their aim in basketball and their intention when they play. And I talked about this in one of my articles. Those of you who don't read, you didn't see this article. But if you read, if you go to dreallday.com/blog, I got an article called Intentions Matter. And it's about how I've played with players who, they were good players, but I could tell that their real objective on the court was to just get their personal shine. They didn't really care about the team winning or losing. It was really just about them. How much stats could they get? How many highlights can they get? Can they show off for the crowd? Can they live up to their billing? There might be people in the crowd like, yo, dude got handle, or dude can dunk, or he can hit threes. And that's all they're really trying to do is just get their little highlight so they can feel personally accomplished. Whether the team wins or loses is secondary. Now, do they want to win? Yes. But is that their prime objective? No. And that matters. I fucking hated playing with players like that who I could tell what they really cared about was how they looked individually, and how the team did was a secondary consideration. And there's been a lot of players I played with who play like that. And if you play ball, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So speaking of that, let's look at some NBA players. Let's look at Zack Lavine, Chicago Bulls. Zack Lavine has been in the NBA for, I believe I heard, 6 years in the league. He was on the Timberwolves. He was putting up pretty good stats, 20-some points per game. He got injured, right? He tore his ACL. He was in Minnesota when that happened, right? Tore his ACL. As soon as he tore his ACL and stopped playing, the Timberwolves started winning. That happened. You can look it up. Now, that might not be his fault because you don't know. Maybe somebody on the team just started playing better. Maybe other players stepped up. Maybe it was just a bad chemistry fit. Doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with Zack Lavine. Okay. So one thing that happens that's fortuitous for this argument is when a player switches teams, or when a player's in the league for a long time and a team evolves around him, meaning he's on like different teams at different times. So you can see, all right, is it him that's the problem or is it the team that's the problem? And I'll give you another example in a moment. Zack Lavine's on the Chicago Bulls. He's been on there for a couple of years now, right? Zack Lavine's been averaging 20-something points a game the whole time he's been on Chicago. He's obviously a very gifted player, obviously a very skilled player. Obviously, the boy can put the ball in the basket. We see this. But every team Zack Lavine is on, from Minnesota, now in Chicago, we got examples now. Now we got a pattern because it happened twice. His teams don't win. His teams aren't successful. Zack Lavine puts up stats, but he loses. So this is what they call empty calories. It's like when you're putting up these amazing stats. It's like if I eat a candy bar and a bag of chips. Yes, I did technically take in calories if you count the calories on the nutrition stats, but I'm still going to be hungry in 30 minutes. Now, if I eat the same number of calories in a hearty meal, a good meal, I'm not going to be hungry in 30 minutes. What's the difference? Different kinds of calories. Just because a calorie is not always a calorie. There are good calories and there are useless calories. Zack Lavine's stats, because of his track record of winning and losing, we got to put that in the empty calories category. Do you understand? And we have examples. He was on a different team and this was happening. Now he's on this team and the same thing's happening. He's the best player on the Bulls. He puts up the best stats on the Bulls, but the Bulls lose. When Zack Lavine's putting up his stats, they're losing. When he was putting up stats in Minnesota, they were losing. So we can't say it's not his fault. Well, it is his fault because he's on the team, he's putting up these stats, and his team's losing. He's the best player on a losing team. If you're the leader in a losing organization, it's your fault. Right? Whether you are responsible for it or not, you can choose, but it's your fault because you're the leader. If I'm running a company and I'm just this talented whiz kid CEO and my company's losing money and we're getting run into the ground, is it my fault? Of course it's my fucking fault. I'm the leader. Whoever's the leader or the best in any group, if that group is unsuccessful, it is your responsibility. Now, is it because of you? Maybe, maybe not. So let's give another example. I grew up in the city of Philadelphia, PA. Shout out to everybody from Philly. When I was growing up in Philly, the Sixers had a player by the name of Charles Barkley. Y'all know Charles. Many of y'all might only know him from TV. But when Charles was playing, Charles was a fucking beast. He's one of the best players in the league. Problem was, on the Sixers, for many years, they were good, but they couldn't get over the hump. Like, they would make the playoffs and maybe win the first round, they lose in the second round, or maybe lose in the first round. They would make the playoffs because Charles Barkley was a superstar. Here's the thing. If you have a superstar on your team, that means you're guaranteed making the playoffs. You might lose in the first round, but you're making the playoffs. A superstar is a player who guarantees that team's going to the playoffs no matter who on the team. That's a superstar. Charles Barkley was a superstar. Dwayne Wade, those years with the Heat, after they won the 06 title and before LeBron, when the Heat didn't really have that nobody even close to All-Star except Wade, but they kept making the playoffs and losing, that's a superstar. Kevin Durant, superstar. You can put a superstar on a player that don't have anybody else that's really that good. They're making the playoffs. Chris Paul, when he was in New Orleans, superstar. LeBron, one of those Cavs teams, superstar. But anyway, Charles Barkley was a superstar. Here's the thing about Charles. Since they kept losing the first round, people are like, yo, is Charles Barkley really that good? You know, his team keeps losing in the first round. Maybe he's just not that good. And the good thing about Charles is that we got a comparison, because Charles, in the summer of 1992, he got traded to the Phoenix Suns. When Charles got traded to the Phoenix Suns, those of you who are old enough to remember, you know what happened next. He went to Phoenix. He won the MVP award that season, went all the way to the NBA Finals, the furthest he had ever been, all the way to the NBA Finals, as soon as he got on the team that had some better players around him. So the argument was, all right, is Charles the reason the team isn't going further than the first round, or is it the team the reason they're not going past the first round? But we could never know if he was always on the same team. When he got traded to Phoenix, all of a sudden, they went to the NBA Finals. So Charles wasn't the problem. All he needed was some better players around him. He got some better players around him. He got better results. Zack Lavine went to a different team. The results are pretty much the same. You understand? Other thing is, let's talk about another player. Let's talk about Karl-Anthony Towns. Great stats. Karl-Anthony Towns and Zack Lavine, these are two guys that if you play fantasy basketball, you're happy you got them, because they're going to put up stats all day, right? They put up great stats. For fantasy basketball, these guys are superstars. In real life basketball, not so much. Karl-Anthony Towns is on the Timberwolves, was teammates with Zack Lavine for a little bit. They were losing, not doing nothing, not going anywhere, right? And you thought maybe, well, Zach, look at the stats that Karl-Anthony Towns is putting up. He's averaging 27, 13 rebounds, whatever he was doing, whatever his stats were, all right? But they were losing. People are like, well, it's not his fault. Look at his stats. Okay. But he's still on the Timberwolves, so how do we know? Well, here's how we know. Jimmy Butler got traded from the Bulls to the Timberwolves, right? Or he signed there, one or the other. He got traded, whatever. He ended up on the Timberwolves, right? That one full season, Jimmy Butler was on the Timberwolves. What did the Timberwolves do? They made the playoffs with Jimmy Butler on the team. Then Jimmy Butler wanted to be traded from Minnesota, and they had the whole thing at the beginning of the year and practice, whatever. He gets traded to the Sixers. Jimmy Butler leaves Minnesota. They made the playoffs the one year he was on Minnesota. He leaves Minnesota. Then what happens? Minnesota's trash all over again. They missed the playoffs last year. This year, Karl-Anthony Towns missed, about 15 games or whatever he missed. He came back, and I've been looking at the box scores and see how they're doing. Karl-Anthony Towns is back. He's putting up his stats as usual. Problem, they're still losing. So Karl-Anthony Towns, he doesn't get the it's not his fault label, because when Jimmy Butler was on the team, they finally made the playoffs. As soon as Jimmy Butler left, they went right back to being the trash that they were before Jimmy Butler got there. And Karl-Anthony Towns was the one constant. So you got to own that. So Karl-Anthony Towns, well, he doesn't get the superstar tag because I already explained to you what makes a superstar. Now, Jimmy Butler, is he a winning player? Hell yeah, he's a winning player, because look what Jimmy Butler did. He went from the Bulls, who were already good before he got there. We got to admit. They stayed good while he was on there. Went to Minnesota, who had not been good at all. He gets on Minnesota. What happens? They make the playoffs. He leaves Minnesota. They become trash. He goes to the Sixers. Conference semifinals, lose in Game 7. Not because Jimmy Butler fucked up. Jimmy Butler leaves the Sixers, goes to the Miami Heat. What are they doing? One of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Jimmy Butler is a winning player. His presence on the team makes a team better. That's a winning player. You being on the team gets better. Every team Jimmy Butler's gone to, that team has performed better with Jimmy Butler on the team than with Jimmy Butler off the team. That's just a fact. Zack Lavine, every team he's on, the team is garbage no matter whether he plays or not. So we can't call him a winning player. That's just the point that I'm making here. And the empty calories thing. Now let's take it to another guy who I don't think Zack Lavine's going to make the All-Star game. It'll probably already have happened by the time you see this. I don't think he's really in serious consideration for making it. I don't think he should make it, and I don't think he'll have made it by the time you see this. Trey Young, Atlanta Hawks. Now, Trey Young has a larger fan base than Zack Lavine. Trey Young has even better stats than Zack Lavine. Trey Young is putting up some of the best stats in the league. He's averaging a double-double. I think he's averaging double-figure assists. He's putting up 30, 40 points all these games. He has a huge fan base because, I don't know, I guess because of his play style. And here's the thing with Trey Young. As I said at the beginning of this video, the casual fans of basketball, they only look at the box scores. They see how many points he had, how many rebounds, how many assists, how many threes he made. They see the little highlights, and they're like, all right, Trey Young's one of the best players in the league. He's an all-star. It's not his fault, because look at the stats, look at the highlights, look at all this stuff. It's not his fault. Here's the thing about Trey Young, however. Trey Young plays no defense. There's a stat nowadays. Now, it used to be you just had to look at somebody and say they don't play defense. Like, remember when James Harden wasn't playing any defense and they made the videos and was clowning them? Now James Harden tries on defense because he was embarrassed. I think he was embarrassed. Trey Young, this era is a little bit later now. Now we got advanced stats. They got this stat called net rating, defensive net rating. Trey Young is one of the worst 5 players in the entire NBA in defense. Did you know that? One of the worst 5 players in the whole NBA in defense. And that defensive rating is isolated for the individual player. So you can isolate it based on that one player. He's one of the worst players in the league on D. And the eye test, if you actually watch the games, you'll see Trey Young is a really bad defensive player. If you're watching this and you play ball, you can score 25 points on Trey Young in a game. Now, he might give you 50, but you'll get 25. Now, you're not getting 25 on Jimmy Butler. You're not getting 25 on Charles Barkley when he was playing. You probably ain't even getting, you might get 25 on Zack Lavine. Not because he can't stop you, because he's not trying. That's the thing about defense. Defense is really about effort. It is about skill. There is some skill involved in defense, but it's really mostly the main thing about defense is effort, just trying. These guys don't try on defense, but they put up these great stats because, listen, they're human just like you and I. They know what we say. They know that the casual fans, which make up most of basketball fans, are casual fans who don't really know the game in detail. They just know the stats and they know the highlights. They know that as long as they put up those stats, they're going to have a legion of people cheering for them and saying how great they are. And defense, they know that the people who talk about defense is a small percentage of basketball fans, people like me, who bring up defense. Most of y'all, casual fans, y'all don't give a damn about defense. It's not sexy. But if you want to win games, you got to play defense. As the saying goes, defense wins championships. Look at the teams who win championships. They got great defensive players. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant. These guys are great defensive players. Golden State Warriors were one of the best defensive teams in the league. They had Draymond Green, great defender. Steph Curry, not a great defender, but he tried on defense. Nobody can ever say Steph Curry didn't try on defense. All right, and people comparing Trey Young to Steph Curry. All right, Steph Curry tried on defense. Trey Young does not. Draymond Green, best defensive player in the league, one of them. This is how you win. Kevin Durant, great defender. Klay Thompson, great defender. That's why they win championships. LeBron James, when they were winning championships in Cleveland or getting close, great defender. He was putting the effort in on defense. And LeBron usually puts effort in on defense. He didn't last year with the Lakers, but overall he puts in effort on defense. That matters. Now, again, you're a casual fan. You just ignored everything that I just said, but that's why you're a casual fan. And that's okay. You could be a casual fan. Nothing wrong with that. We need casual fans. Now, that was talking about the empty calories guys like Zack Lavine, Trey Young. I think Trey Young might make the All-Star game anyway because he's spectacular on offense. He's horrible on defense. He's spectacular on offense. Therefore, he might make the All-Star game just based off of that. I wouldn't be mad at Trey Young making the All-Star game. I understand. But if he doesn't make it, I wouldn't be mad at him not making it either. It'll be interesting to hear what people have to say when he doesn't make it. I already told you what they're going to say if he doesn't make it. But Trey Young, hopefully, I don't follow Trey Young on no social media. Hopefully, him nor the Atlanta Hawks are out there, campaigning for him to make the All-Star game because that's crazy. And the Atlanta Hawks are the worst team in the league. Now, John Collins was suspended for 25 games. He's the second best player on the team. Might be the best player on the team, actually. Might be better than Trey Young. Not stats-wise, but he might be a better player than Trey Young. I haven't looked deep into the stats, but he missed 25 games. So that is a mitigating factor in the fact that the Hawks are trash. But the Hawks are still trash regardless of who missed games, whatever. Y'all trash. And you, the best player, putting up the stats, or is your fault. You are responsible for that because you putting up stats on a team that's trash. All right, you got to own that. Now, and that actually leads to another person. Let's talk about Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie is up there in fan voting, but I don't think he's going to make the team. I don't know. I have no idea how that's going to shake out. It depends on how the coaches and the players vote. Kyrie's missed a bunch of games. And this leads into the second thing that I wanted to bring up, which is how does your team do when you're around? Does your presence make teams better, worse, the same? Do your teammates play better when you're not on the court, off the court? I mean, on the court, off the court? And this is a chemistry thing and it's a performance thing. Kyrie Irving, obviously, is one of the best skill level, talent and skill guards in the NBA. I think we can all agree to that. We saw what he did in the 2016 finals when him and LeBron and the Cavs beat the Golden State Warriors. And he went toe-to-toe with Steph Curry. And the thing about Kyrie is now he's been on what? He's been on, I would say, 4 teams. He was on the Cavs before LeBron, then the Cavs with LeBron. Those are 2 different teams. Can we agree? Then he was on the Celtics, and now he's on the Brooklyn Nets. So we got a pretty good track record of Kyrie Irving's presence on a basketball team and it's his effect on it. Now, any of you who watches and follows the NBA, you can't disagree with what I'm about to say. And Kyrie, if you or someone in your camps watching this, is nothing personal, but listen, you done heard it already anyway. Kyrie was on the Cavs for 4 years without LeBron. They were trash. All 4 years, trash. They didn't even get close to getting better. 4 years, trash. Kyrie was not trash. He put up great stats. Again, similar to what Trey Young's doing now. Same thing. Great stats, great highlights, team trash. People could say, well, it's not Kyrie's fault. Look at his stats. We didn't know yet because he'd only been on one team. It was the same situation. We didn't get a chance to see him in a different situation. Then LeBron came. LeBron came, brought Kevin Love with him. We could talk about Kevin Love in a moment. Cavs started winning. LeBron left. Well, no, LeBron didn't leave. Kyrie left, rather. Now, Kyrie left the Cavs, right? LeBron stayed on the Cavs after Kyrie left. Kyrie went to Boston, and what happened to the Cavs? Nothing. They went right back to the fucking finals without Kyrie. Which means the team was trash when it was only Kyrie. They were great with LeBron. Kyrie left. They were still great without Kyrie. So we can't say Kyrie's a winning player because that team was winning because of LeBron's presence. It's proven. That's a scientific experiment. The control and the variable. Kyrie left and the team stayed good. Kyrie went to Boston. Boston had a pretty good team around what Kyrie was already doing. So we can't say Kyrie made that team good. They were good. They would have been good with or without. They were good already. They traded IT, got Kyrie. Kyrie gets injured, right? Misses the end of the season, misses the playoffs. Celtics go all the way to the conference finals anyway. Game 7 against LeBron. LeBron beats them. But the Celtics were pretty damn good without Kyrie. Kyrie comes back and plays the next season. And we know what happened. That was the last season with Boston. And he's making all these comments in the media about these guys don't know what it takes to win a championship. And I'm a leader. He kept emphasizing that he's a leader. And he kept talking about how he's won a championship or making sure they knew that he had won a championship and saying these things. And every time he says something like that, I always thought to myself, like, motherfucker, you know what it means to win a championship or what it takes because you did technically win a championship and he was the second best player on a title team, which does matter. However, dude, your team was garbage when you was the best player on the team. When you were the best player on the Cavs for 4 years, y'all were garbage. LeBron came, y'all became good. You left, they stayed good without your ass. You are not the reason why they won a championship. You contributed, but you're not the reason they went there because they did it without you. They went to the finals without you. So he kept dropping that he won a championship and being a leader and all this shit. I'm like, yo, you weren't the reason they did it. So I cringed every time I heard him say that. Even though factually he was correct. All right, y'all understand that? He was factually correct, but he still shouldn't have said it. And then he leaves the Celtics. And now the Celtics replaced him with Kemba, who is skill-wise, he's about 85% of Kyrie. Skill-wise, talent-wise. But chemistry-wise, he's 10 times better than Kyrie, it appears. Now, Kyrie's on the Brooklyn Nets. Starts off the season on fire, killing, scoring a whole bunch of points. This is what Kyrie Irving does. But they were losing those games when he was scoring all these points. We got to point this out. Because, again, the object of the game is to win. Kyrie gets injured. Spencer Dinwiddie steps up to start at point guard in his place. It's obvious to anyone who was following, who sees what the Nets were doing. They didn't all of a sudden become great when Spencer Dinwiddie stepped up. They're still a middling, mediocre team. Still, with or without Kyrie, they're a mediocre team. And Spencer Dinwiddie, though, he's averaging 20-some points, putting up the stats. Spencer Dinwiddie should be starting for somebody. Now, they say, what I read was Spencer Dinwiddie and Kyrie are friends, and Spencer was, like, pushing for Kyrie to come sign with the Nets, which I don't quite understand why Spencer Dinwiddie would want Kyrie, a person who plays his position, who's definitely going to start over him. Why would he want Kyrie on the team when they already got him and Karis LeVert? Now you want Kyrie on the team? Like, all three of y'all probably not going to start. Y'all got Joe Harris, too. Why would he want Kyrie on the team? I don't know. Even if Kyrie was my man, I'd be like, yo, you my man, but yo, this is my starting spot. Or if they're gonna sign Kyrie, shit, trade me so I can go start for somebody. Like, shouldn't Spencer Dinwiddie be starting for some team in the league? But anyway, Spencer Dinwiddie, he's not Kyrie, but he gave you 80, 90% of what Kyrie produces. And it seems like, this is just my subjective thing, it seems like the Nets had better chemistry without Kyrie on the court. The thing about Kyrie, it seems like every team that he's on, when he's not playing, the team has better chemistry. Not because Kyrie's a bad basketball player, but because, I don't know, this guy, is Kyrie Irving a winning player? And it's crazy to ask that about a guy who's been to the NBA Finals, how many years was he on that? 3 years? They went to the NBA Finals? He missed the first year in 2015 when I think they would have beat the Warriors. He got injured. He played a game, then got injured. 2016 they won, 2017 they lost, and then 2018 he forced his way out. But they went to the finals anyway without him. Is Kyrie Irving a winning player? I'm not sure. I'm not sure we can't definitively say yes. Hell no, we cannot say yes. I'm not going to say he's not, but I can't say that he is. So the jury's out on him. Kevin Love, who I said I was going to mention. He was on the Timberwolves. Timberwolves trash. Gets traded to the Cavs, go to the finals, win a championship. LeBron leaves, Kevin Love's still on the Cavs. Trash. Kevin Love is not a winning player. Kevin Love is a good player. If I had a fantasy team, I want Kevin Love on my team. He's going to give me 20 points and 10 rebounds and make a bunch of threes and, for the most part, shoot a pretty good percentage. I want Kevin Love on my fantasy team for his stats. I don't want Kevin Love on my real-life team because he's not a winning player. Kevin Love is a good player. Stats. He doesn't win. And, again, we have examples of this. When he's been the best player on the team, that team's been garbage. Can we agree? Okay. And Kevin Love he seemingly wants to be traded from the Cavs. And now, obviously, a lot of players not going to say they want to be traded because if you say you want to be traded, you'll get fined, and nobody wants to give away money. But he doesn't want to be on that team. He wants to be on a team that's actually good. He wants to go to a team with somebody better than him so he can win again because his presence alone is not going to make a team a winning team. We know this about Kyrie. We know this about Zack Lavine. We know this about Kevin Love. We know it about a whole lot of players in the NBA. I ain't going to mention all of them here. Now, this leads to the chemistry thing. Does your team seem to play better or worse with you on or off the court? Do your teammates respond to you? Does it seem like people actually like playing basketball with you? This is a very important question when it comes to just playing basketball, period. Do people actually like playing basketball with you? Because if people don't like playing with you, your stats don't matter as much. It's like you're putting up these hollow stats. Has any of you ever played ball? Those of you who play, I'm sure if you're still watching this, you play basketball. All right. Those of you who play ball, you ever play ball with somebody who you just didn't like playing with them, even though they were very good? Any of you ever experienced that? I'm sure you have. You played enough basketball. You have played with somebody just like that. They put up good stats. They are a good player. They might have handle. They can shoot. They're athletic. If a casual fan is watching the game, they're looking at that guy or girl and like, damn, he's good. She's good. Look at that move he did. Look how many points they had. And they admire this person. But you on the court, you're like, yo, fuck this dude, fuck this girl, because you understand what the casual fan doesn't understand, that just because you put up stats doesn't necessarily mean you're a good player. And a lot of players put up great stats, but at the same time, they alienate their teammates. I had a teammate, I ain't even gonna say where, because I ain't gonna bash nobody personally when they're not here to defend themselves. But I had a teammate who was a great player. I mean, talent, handle, driving, athleticism, could play defense if they wanted to, but didn't really try. But this person could put up stats. I mean, this person can get 30 any given night against, it don't matter who you put on him, that person can get 30. This guy can get 30. Problem was, he played as if he was the only person on the court. He passed only if the pass would make him look good. He would pass to get an assist. And again, this is a deeper level of basketball understanding that the casual fan doesn't get. See, the casual fan is the kind of person who says, well, you can't say this person doesn't pass because they're averaging 10 assists a game. And I say, yeah, they're averaging 10 assists a game because they got the ball the whole fucking game. And the only time they pass it is when they're passing to somebody who's wide open for a layup or a jump shot, and then they make it and they get an assist. Not because they're out there looking to create for their teammates. They're looking to create for themselves. It just so happens somebody's open. You be an asshole to not passing the ball. You pass the ball, they make a shot, you get an assist. It's a difference. There's a different kind of assist. There's levels to this shit, right? The assist that Chris Paul creates are different than the assists that Zack Lavine creates. Do y'all understand that? Even though they might both get the same number of assists on a given night. Y'all understand that? The assist that Jokic gets is different from the assist that DeMarcus Cousins would get when he was healthy, doing his thing in Sacramento. There's levels to this shit. And you got to understand the game at a deeper level than just looking at a stat sheet and a 2-minute highlight to understand what I just said. And everybody doesn't get it, and that's all right. Everybody doesn't have to get it. But that chemistry matters. Speaking of Chris Paul, as a matter of fact, Chris Paul is a winning player. Even though Chris Paul hasn't won a championship and he has not played in the NBA Finals, Chris Paul's still a winning player because every team Chris Paul goes to, he wins. And his teammates play better. His teammates respond to him. Chris Paul is the kind of guy, again, from a subjective eye test, just watching, from my perspective, Chris Paul is the kind of player I would want to be teammates with. I would want to be on Chris Paul's team. Now, let's compare that to somebody like the guy he got traded for. I would not want to play with Russell Westbrook. Now, Russell Westbrook's a great player. I played in a fantasy league 2 years ago, and I had Russell Westbrook on my team. The guy was getting a triple-double every fucking game. He helped me be very good. I think I went all the way to the championship in that league because one main reason was Russell Westbrook and his stats. Okay? He's fun to... I like watching Russell Westbrook play on some levels, depending on how he's playing, depending on the night. I like his energy. The guy doesn't get tired. He does not take a play off. He does not take a night off. He shows up every single game and competes. I'm sure people who play with him like him as a person. People don't have anything negative to say about Russell Westbrook, the person or the player, if you've been on his team. But at the same time, I think Russell Westbrook cares more about his statistics than he cares about winning. I don't think there's a big gap between the two. I think the gap is smaller, but the number one consideration for Russell Westbrook is his stats, because you can't average a triple-double without trying to average a triple-double. Russell Westbrook knew what he was doing with those, making sure he got his rebounds and assists. I knew he'd get the points. But you don't average a triple-double without trying to average a triple-double. I feel like he was chasing stats. And it looks good in the end. He won an MVP award out of it. He was the man in OKC. He's going to make the NBA Hall of Fame. That is going to go down in history. He averaged a triple-double, 3 years in a row? All right, nobody can take that away from him. Not even me, if you consider me hating on him for saying this. Again, I had him on my fantasy team. He helped me be good. So I appreciate, thank you, Russell Westbrook. And I want some money off of that. But I wouldn't want to be on his team in a real-life basketball situation, because I feel, from my knowing of basketball, my experience, that this guy cares more about his stats than he cares about actually winning. I don't think he would have been willing to give up the triple-double chase to be a better basketball team for the Thunder in the years that he was there. And I think the Thunder encouraged him to keep getting the triple-doubles because it drew attention to what they were doing. And it built this whole story around Russell Westbrook's the man. He stayed in OKC when KD, left him high and dry the way that he did, which he did. And so they contributed to it, and he fed into it. But a winning player doesn't do that. A winning player says, all right, it's cool that I got a triple-double, but shit, we're trying to win a game. And I'm sure Russell Westbrook has said that before. He said it. But again, if you've played the game and you've been in the locker room with players and you know what kind of player they are, you can tell just by somebody's energy how they feel about their stats versus winning a game. They can say all the right things. And when you're in the league and you got that much attention on you, you learn what the right things to say are. You learn what they are and you say the right things. But I can tell by your energy what you're really after. Another guy we can put in this, I remember Carmelo Anthony, when he was a free agent before he got signed, Chauncey Billups made the statement. Now, Chauncey was his teammate. Chauncey's the champion. Chauncey is a winning player. You saw what he did with the Detroit Pistons. Then he went to Denver, and they got better because he was on the team. They got rid of Iverson, who was a legend in the game. A lot of people would say he's better than Chauncey Billups. And in the hierarchy of basketball history, Iverson will be ahead of Chauncey Billups. But Chauncey Billups got a championship. Allen Iverson don't. But when Chauncey went to that team, it seems like they got better. And Chauncey said it seemed like Carmelo. Now, he didn't say it seemed like. He said he knew when Carmelo would score 30, but the team would lose, Carmelo would be all chippy and trying to pick people up, yo, let's stay positive, let's do it, man, we good, let's go, we're dapping everybody up, trying to stay positive in the locker room because he had 30. But if the team won, then Carmelo only had 19, 20, Carmelo wasn't doing none of that. He wasn't excited. He wasn't happy. Which Chauncey didn't say it in so many words. He was basically illustrating what I'm saying here, that Carmelo Anthony is not a winning player. Do I think Carmelo is a winning player? I would say, I'm going to have to say no. Sorry, Carmelo. I'm going to have to say you're not a winning player. I think Carmelo is a good player. Carmelo is a talented player. Carmelo is a skilled player. Carmelo Anthony is a Hall of Famer. Carmelo Anthony you're in the Hall of Fame, you're a legend. Carmelo Anthony is a legend in the game. And Carmelo is an older version of Trey Young. He has a legion of followers out there, a legion of fans and supporters, many of them casual basketball fans, who, if you say anything, a cross word about Carmelo, they're going to jump on your back and tell you about his stats and this and that. And if Carmelo has a good game, you're going to come out and say something. This is what I heard. I didn't see this myself, but I heard somebody say that when Carmelo had a good game playing for Portland, and LeBron James came out and said something like, I thought y'all said he couldn't play. Like, as if he was defending his man. LeBron defending Carmelo. Like, LeBron, you basically the general manager of your team. LeBron been the general manager of every team he been on since he left the Heat. He didn't run this shit in Miami. But Cleveland, LA, he runs shit. Anybody he want on the team gets on the team. Why he ain't signed Carmelo? I mean, Carmelo's your man. Like, that's his man. Like, they know, y'all know the foursome. Him, Wade, Chris Paul, and Melo is all boys, right? He got Dwayne Wade on the Cavs. That shit didn't fucking work, but he got him on there because LeBron said, yo, get Dwayne Wade on this fucking team. Done. Carmelo was sitting around with no job for how long Carmelo ain't have a job? LeBron ain't do shit. LeBron ain't say a fucking word. Then he gets signed by somebody else, has a good game. LeBron defending him all of a sudden. Like, yo, motherfucker, why you ain't signed him? Y'all need players. The Lakers don't need Carmelo, but they need somebody. They could have signed him. LeBron ain't say nothing. But anyway, that's a different. That's all we need to say about that. Carmelo Anthony came into the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets were not a trashy team. They were already solid. He had a solid team around him, and they were winning. They did some winning. All right, so people might be thinking, how you going to say Carmelo's not a winning player? They went to the conference finals. They was going up against Kobe. They were a good team for several years. How you going to say Melo's not a winning player? Well, let's see what happened next. He went to New York. They had a solid team. They didn't do much. They won a playoff round or two once or twice. They won a playoff round. They didn't win 2 rounds. They won a round once, maybe twice. I don't remember exactly. But they couldn't get over the hump. They couldn't quite get over that hump with Melo. Melo leaves the Knicks. Oh, and here's the thing. Here's the reason about Melo. This is the one glaring mark that I would put against Melo. Melo was injured playing for the Knicks, right? Mike D'Antoni was coaching. He put in this little Asian dude named Jeremy Lin, who was damn near out of the NBA. Jeremy Lin, y'all know what happened to Jeremy Lin. He catches fire. That shit, how long was Linsanity? Like 6 weeks? It seemed like that shit was like a whole year, right? It was 6 weeks. Jeremy Lin was fucking killing. Melo was injured. All the Knicks was running was a spread pick and roll. Jeremy Lin was fucking dominating. Fucking Landry Fields, Tyson Chandler, a bunch of no-name guys. Jeremy Lin was a no-name guy up to that point. The Knicks are killing. Everybody in the world is talking about fucking Jeremy Lin. You had Asian people who couldn't name 5 NBA players watching basketball games because of Jeremy fucking Lin. And it was a feel-good story in New York. Mike D'Antoni was basically what Mike D'Antoni did with James Harden, he was doing with Jeremy Lin. That was James Harden light, what he was doing with Jeremy Lin. But what happened? What happened to Linsanity? Y'all know what happened to Linsanity? Carmelo Anthony happened to Linsanity. Carmelo comes back from injury. And everybody's like, all right, how are the Knicks going to work when Carmelo Anthony comes back from injury? Carmelo was a small forward, right? And this was before the time when guys like him were embracing being the stretch fours. And Carmelo refused to be a stretch four. And this is when power forwards were refusing to play center. So Carmelo refused to be a stretch four. He wanted to be a 3. And we all know Carmelo's game. Throw me the ball in the mid-range area. Let me catch it. Let me size up my defender. Let me do my jab step moves. Let me hit him with the mid-range pull-up and do my post moves, my one-on-one shit, my ISO shit. That's what Carmelo's good at. I'm not knocking this. All right, that's what Carmelo's good at. The reason Carmelo's going to the Hall of Fame is because he's good at that. The problem is the Knicks were better when they were running the spread pick and roll with Jeremy Lin. So when Carmelo comes in, he jams up the whole shit. He won't fall in line to let Jeremy Lin be the guy because Carmelo had rank over Jeremy Lin. Carmelo had a larger contract. He had a bigger name. He had a more illustrious career up to that point, and he had the juice. Carmelo had more juice than anybody on that team. He could have got the coach fired, which I think didn't he get D'Antoni fired, or did D'Antoni resign? One or the other. He ran D'Antoni's ass out of there because D'Antoni, the type of offenses that Mike D'Antoni runs, are the exact opposite of what Carmelo Anthony does, which is why it was funny when Carmelo Anthony ended up on the Houston Rockets the other year with Mike D'Antoni coaching. Didn't last long, but that was funny because he ran D'Antoni out of New York, and he killed Linsanity. The reason Linsanity ended is because of Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo would not let Jeremy Lin run the pick and roll thing. He demanded the ball, and Jeremy Lin did not have enough leverage to tell Carmelo no. He couldn't tell Carmelo no, and he didn't because he didn't have the juice to do so. Linsanity gets killed, and the Knicks. What the Knicks do the rest of that season? We don't even remember. All right, they weren't good. And the reason why, and it's not like the Knicks were going to win the championship when Carmelo was injured, when Jeremy Lin was doing his thing, but they were doing well. They were playing better in that style, and everybody on the team was involved, and everybody was happy, and there was a huge level of chemistry when Linsanity was running in New York. Carmelo comes in, killed all that shit. He killed all that energy when he came in with his give me the ball, demanding it, pulling rank on the coach, pulling rank on Jeremy Lin, and killed the whole situation. And what the Knicks do after that, we don't even remember. Nothing memorable, nothing worth talking about. For that reason, I got to give Carmelo the no on the winning player thing, because the Knicks could have kept winning if Carmelo would have stepped in, played power forward, and ran the the open up pick and roll for Jeremy Lin. Listen, they would have kept running the shit for Carmelo. Carmelo still would have got his buckets. Carmelo would have scored his fucking points. They would have just run the pick and roll with Melo. Carmelo, Jeremy Lin pick and roll at that time, they would have been fucking killing. Imagine Carmelo running the pick and roll, catching the ball on a roll, and he's wide open 15 feet from the basket, or you got to rotate to him, so he either got to hit the pass or he gets to go one-on-one against somebody who's rotating. That's buckets all day. But Carmelo Anthony, I test my subjective, and based on my experience in basketball, he didn't have the mentality to want to do that. He wanted to do things his way, and he knew he had the power to make things happen his way, and he exercised that power. And it resulted in what for the Knicks? Anything that you can name? No, nothing. Then he went to OKC. Again, defensive rating. Carmelo Anthony was one of the worst defensive players in the league. They played the Utah Jazz in the first round. Listen to anyone talk about this who remembers that series. OKC against Utah. 2000 and, I forget what year, 2017, 18, one of those years. Carmelo, was Paul George on the team at that time? I can't remember. I don't even remember. But anyway, Carmelo was on the court in the playoffs. They were playing against Utah. You know what the Utah Jazz did? They did what everybody does in the playoffs now. They find the weakest defensive player on the other team, and they just keep running pick and rolls until they get a one-on-one between the best offensive player on our team and the worst defender they got, and just keep attacking that guy and scoring on him. This is what, if you remember the 2016 finals, this is what the Cavs did to Steph Curry. All they did was keep running pick and rolls until they got Steph Curry guarding LeBron, and LeBron would just abuse Steph Curry. Either score on him or draw the double team and hit Tristan Thompson with that alley-oop dunk, or hit J.R. Smith, Kyle Korver, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving for wide open threes. That's all the Cavs did. Watch the 2016 finals, you'll see it. The only other thing they would do was isolate Kyrie one-on-one against Steph Curry. He was scoring on Steph. They picked out the worst defender on the court and just kept isolating that motherfucker, scoring on him. They also did it to the Warriors' big guys, because Andrew Bogut had gotten injured. So they put Festus Ezeli in the game, and LeBron would just isolate him, score on him. So whoever was the weakest guy, they would attack. The Utah Jazz did this to OKC, and they isolated Donovan Mitchell on Carmelo Anthony. He was busting Carmelo's ass. Ran Carmelo. The reason Carmelo Anthony didn't get a job in the league after that OKC season, he got traded to the Hawks. They bought him out, and Carmelo didn't have a job for a minute. Or then he went to Houston, then he didn't have a job for a minute, was because he got ran off the court by fucking Donovan Mitchell. It was so obvious that he couldn't guard anybody. And in a playoff series, if you try and win a championship, you're not signing a guy like Melo because they just going to isolate him and just keep scoring on him. And no trash team wanted to pick up Melo because they like, yo, Melo is not a guy we want to put on a young team, because he ain't trying to play on a young team. He want to play on a team where he can win a championship, right? That's what every veteran player says. So we not picking him up. The young teams wasn't getting him. The veterans who was trying to win the championship, the older teams that was trying to win title, they didn't want him because he couldn't guard nobody. You can't play him in the playoffs. Why get Carmelo? The Blazers got him because they were so trash that it looked like their season was going to go completely in the tank. They still not good now, even with Carmelo. And they got two guys who put up great stats and are not winning players. And those two guys are Melo and Hassan Whiteside. And you can look at the Miami Heat. When Hassan Whiteside got benched, and now that he's been replaced by Bam, look what the Heat are doing. Again, we'll talk. Whiteside's not part of this conversation. I wasn't thinking about him for this conversation. But he's another guy who puts up great stats, but they're empty calories. His teams don't seem to do better regardless of his statistical performance. Even though, personally, if you were to tell Whiteside you're not a winning player, all he's going to do is point out his stats. Right? Again, he's another guy who I've had on my fantasy team, and he put up great stats for me. Thank you, Hassan Whiteside, for the stats for my fantasy team. But on a real life team, I don't want Hassan Whiteside on my team. He's not a winning player. Hassan Whiteside is a guy who cares more about his stats than he cares about actually winning. If he cared more about winning, listen, he's more talented. No, I wouldn't even say more, but I would say equally talented to Bam Adebayo, who just happens to be on a recent fantasy team. So why did they get rid of Hassan Whiteside? Was it for money? Partly it was because of money, because they needed to sign Jimmy Butler. But also, listen, Hassan Whiteside was on the team last year. He got benched. Bam took his starting spot. Y'all remember that? Why? Is it because Bam was more talented than Whiteside? No. It's because the team played better when Bam was on the court. Even though Whiteside was putting up stats when he was on the court, the team played worse with him on the court. Why is that? Because Whiteside was trying to get stats. He wasn't trying to do the things to help the team win. See, to help the team win, you might have to not go after a block shot, or not try to go steal a rebound from a teammate, or not demand to get the ball in the post, or be talking about how you're not allowed to shoot threes. Like, these kind of things aren't winning things. Those are individual about me things. Let me get my stats things. Who wants to play with a player like that? Nobody. Now, if you stuck with a player like that, you're going to say positive things about him. But if you got a chance to get rid of a player like that, he's gone. Whiteside's the kind of guy who's going to play on a bunch of different teams. After this, I think he's on an expiring contract. Watch. Year after year, every couple years, year after year, he's already like 30, 31. He's always going to play on different teams. Even though his stats are going to be great on every team he plays on, he's always going to keep moving around to different teams. You're going to be like, why teams keep getting rid of Hassan Whiteside? That's why, because he's a stats guy. Now, Trey Young, we don't know yet. The jury is still out. It's only his second year in the league. One problem with Trey Young, not really a problem, but one thing with Trey Young that his casual fans don't mention, but people who know the game will always mention, is he got traded for Luka Doncic. Even though Trey's very good, Luka's better. Look at the Dallas Mavericks record and look at the Atlanta Hawks record. Now, you might say, well, Dallas got a better team around Luka than Trey has around him. And you're probably right. But you can look at the stats that isolate for variables such as teammates. Offensive rating, defensive rating, real plus minus. Luka dwarfs Trey Young in every category. I'm not sure Trey Young's a winning player yet. I don't know yet. I'm not saying that he's not, but I can't say that he is. Luka Doncic, that motherfucker's a winning player. All right, again, you can see the numbers. Look at his teammates. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you this question. Those of you who play ball, and if you're still watching, you play ball. Would you want to be on teams with Luka Doncic? If Luka's running the point, would you be all right playing two guard with Luka on the team? I'm sure you're nodding your head furiously right now. You know why? Because every time you open, you get in the ball. Because if you can make an open jump shot, you scoring 15 points a game. Like Tim Hardaway Jr., you scoring 15 points a game just by being on the court. Because he's going to find you when you're open. That ball's going to be there. All you got to do is make the shot. If you cut to the basket, that ball's going to be there. If you're a pick and roll big who can roll to the rim and finish, you scoring double figures. Because he's hitting you with that pass on time every time. Luka. Now, Trey Young, and also the other thing about Luka is he's going to compete. He's trying to win. He cares about winning. Not just stats, but winning. Because Luka played in the Euro League before he came to the NBA, right? Now, a lot of y'all don't know shit about European basketball, but let me tell you something. You play basketball in Europe and you going after your stats, you won't be on the team for 2 weeks. You'll be gone. It's over. They'll get rid of you. They can tell when you're going after stats. There are players who play in Europe right now who are American guys who could put up 25, 30 in a wide open setting, they averaging 8 points overseas right now. Not because they can't play, not because they forgot how to score, but because that ain't the game over there. The game over there ain't about points. It ain't about stats. And if you're playing for stats, first of all, you won't even get a contract if you're the kind of guy who plays for stats. Because they look at your video. They ain't dumb. Y'all think people in Europe don't know the game? They know the game. If they see you the kind of guy who goes at the stats, they're not even signing you in the first place, let alone leaving you on the court. Now, if you get on the court and start playing for stats, it's a wrap. It's over. You won't be on the team no more. Guaranteed. Luka Doncic was the MVP of the fucking EuroLeague. He was like 19. MVP. Now, yes, he was getting stats, but that's not because he was playing for stats. There's a difference between getting stats and trying for stats. I know a lot of players who try for stats over winning. And a guy like, let's say a guy like LeBron, he gets stats. Michael Jordan got stats. Kobe got stats, but they were trying to win. Now, Kobe sometimes can get a little sloppy with his, but Michael Jordan, LeBron, you understand what I'm saying. They got stats in the process of trying to win. Giannis, he gets stats, but he's trying to win. Luka, he gets stats, but he's trying to win. There's a lot of players in this league, in the NBA, who get stats because they're trying to get stats. If they win, cool, but the stats is what matter. I've been talking for an hour. Now, what else do I need to say about this? I think I've said everything that I need to say. It's probably some things that I forgot or left out. Because, again, I don't have my stats information around me. I'm driving somewhere far as shit. It's just traffic. But anyway, actually ain't even that far. It's just traffic. But anyway, I said everything that I need to say. That's enough talking for the day. Y'all tell me what you think of the things that I've said here about winning players. Do you understand my concept of winning players versus losing players versus stats players? All right, there's a lot of players out here who are stats players. They're not losing players, they stats guys. So if they lose and get stats, they happy. I fucking hated playing with players like that. Do you hate playing with stats players? Are you a stats player? Some of y'all are stats players. All right, all y'all who watching this, who play ball, all y'all ain't winning players. I know a winning player when I see you. I can watch somebody play ball for 2 minutes and know if they're a winning player or a stats player. Some of you is stats players. Don't be on no team that I'm on, because I'll call your ass out. And I'll bust your ass on the court. All that being said, I ain't got to tell you what to do with your opinions. Put them in the comments. Work on your game. Dre all day.